welcome back to another edition of the Change My Mind podcast.
I won't change my mind, because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
Yes, you are, and I'm Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the Bugsy Siegel to my Stephen Fleming. It's Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, Hitman for Hire.
This whole idea that hitmen don't exist was, I was like, I know they're not, we're not getting a, Deathstroke, Slade Wilson type scenario or Deadshot,
Right.
but I was like, they don't exist at all? Really?
Yeah, that was my question. That comes up a little bit later. I kind of sandwiched unanswerable questions within what age the worst there. So I have a couple of unanswerable questions in that portion there, one of the which you just touched on. So I don't want to dance on it too much, but just know that I agree with you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there we go. We're on the same page. Good start to the show.
Yes, we're definitely in agreement here. And this week, if you haven't already guessed, we're holding an exit survey for the Netflix movie Hitman. 2 words there, which grammatically doesn't seem correct. I don't know what's up with that. But that's starring Glen Powell, and it's written and directed by Richard Linklater.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's another Hitman movie. I just did a quick search, but I'm not actually on.
I feel like there was a game. Was there a game that turned into a movie?
There's maybe that sounds right. Actually, a game maybe or
like a Jason Statham type of movie or something like that.
Oh yeah, and I'm seeing it right here. It looks like it's definitely a movie. Timothy Oliphant, DeGray Scott. I don't know who that is, but anyways,
okay, forgettable nonetheless.
Yes.
But yeah, so we'll be doing that, and kind of intro question based off this movie in some ways. Do you think you can lead a double life, or have you? Maybe that's the more pressing question.
This whole time I've been doing it. This whole time, I actually have a family. I have a family in. I was going to say in Portugal. That doesn't really work though, because I do have family in Portugal. But
so you're living in the lie. There's small lies that you tell.
Yeah, exactly. That
half truths and whole lies.
I think now that I've have to do I've dealt with like having a commute to work and knowing how I feel about that. And even though I have to do it once a week, like a real commute, and then covering, in Boston even more before that, I now know no, I just the travel would be too fucking maddening to me. I have no patience for any of that stuff. And I'm not a big fan of flying either. I'm fine with it now, but I used to get bugged out a little bit. So for all those reasons, no.
So it wouldn't be the web of lies that would really string you up. It would be the travel.
Yes,
the gas miles.
Yeah, good job listening. Yes, 100%. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. No, I wouldn't. I couldn't. I don't think I like. There's so many reasons. You just get so crossed up, and my anxiety would probably give me a heart attack.
Yeah, it would be like the Telltale Heart. Is am I getting too literary there? Is that the Edgar Allan Poe story where he kills someone and then he hears them through the floorboards and stuff, and it's and it just kind of eats at you, but it ends up being his own insanity that drives him to confessing. That would probably be a lot like my situation. However, and I can speak to this a little bit because I'm certainly not proud of this, but in my college years, I attempted and failed at trying to date 2 girls at the same time.
That's right. Yep.
And it didn't work out well. You think it was going to be, it was like an ex-girlfriend who was back in town for the summer, and the other one I worked with. So I was like, oh, great. They'll be able to stay separate. And the ex-girlfriend ended up getting a job right next to me, like literally right next door. Yeah. And it was a whole situation. I had sent a tweet out when I was with the other girl who I worked with, and it had geolocation on there. And then the ex-girlfriend was like, why are you out here? You told me you were this place. And it all fell apart. So I'm clearly not cut out for it. It's not a healthy lifestyle to live.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you can't do that, Wes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with that failure in my life.
Yeah, and also when you said the Telltale Heart, it reminded me of The Pale Blue Eye, which was the movie with Christian Bale that we reviewed. I think that was about
probably
a year
at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, yes, yeah, that was a quality movie. That was good
quality,
one. And I think that was a Netflix original.
I was gonna say that maybe didn't really feel like a Netflix movie so much. This doesn't either. So maybe that's they're in sync there with that.
Yeah, they got we all know there are some real impressive movies that come out on Netflix. I mean, this is why I tend to think if I was like, I can only keep one of these streaming platforms, I think at the end of it all, it would be Netflix. I feel like that's still my answer. HBO sometimes gives it a run. Amazon,
Hmm.
like Amazon doesn't have as much, but they have a really strong like batting average.
Hmm.
So like I'm not sure. Like I still lean Netflix, but I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's probably Netflix is still number one. My only I guess vote for Amazon Prime would be that you have the access to all the rentals there.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, the 2-day shipping and everything that comes with that as well.
Yeah.
But the rental catalog is huge. So even though if you're paying for an app, you still have the opportunity to watch other things that may not be free to you.
Yeah, this is that's a very good point. Yeah, so Amazon has put itself in a real good position from a just a financial standpoint, from a
Yeah,
content, and even from a content standpoint too. Because you raise a good point. Like if they don't carry it, then you can at least rent it there or purchase it. You
right.
don't really own it, but whatever.
Yeah, and it's where the other streaming services. I mean, certainly HBO Max is like well diversified with Warner Brothers and Discovery and all those other things. But it's like Amazon Prime, like the Amazon streaming service is such a like secondary stream of revenue for them. So I think they could maybe like take more chances. I'm surprised they haven't actually. But they have a little less to lose because if they go in the red on Amazon or whatever Amazon streaming, it's not that big of a deal because they still have Amazon Prime and the
Mm.
website and everything else that they do.
I wonder if they're trying to take like. Do you mean that in terms of they haven't taken more swings in terms of how much they put out, or in terms of what they put out? Because I think in terms of what they've put out, I mean, you have The Boys, which is
Yeah, and Invincible,
outrageous.
right? Invincible is
Invincible's
also on that.
outrageous.
Yeah, and they
Yep.
had Chris
Foxy.
Pratt,
Oh,
the,
yep,
the
yep.
Chris Pratt show, which did really well. But yeah, but I
There's
mean, they've
others.
had some good things. I'm just surprised that we haven't seen. I don't know. I guess more of a higher volume of like original
Mm.
stuff.
There you go. Yeah, no, totally fair. It is, but maybe they're. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a very deliberate approach, like and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to wait other places out because with Netflix and what you call it HBO, like they're on subscriptions. That's it. So Hulu and Disney Plus, same kind of deal.
Hmm.
Whereas Apple TV Plus and then Amazon, like they're the only ones that's like you said secondary. I
Hmm.
think the
No,
only
yeah,
ones.
yeah. I
But
hear you. Yeah, so I would say Amazon Prime number two, Prime Video, whatever that streaming service is called.
yeah, you know how my screen freezes occasionally? I don't know if you saw it, but it just froze. Like I look terrible.
Oh no, it looked fine on my end
Yeah.
here.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just me. Okay,
Yeah,
good to know.
maybe it's just you. You know what you don't need a subscription service for?
What?
It's the comic book minute. I got all the sounders right.
Ah, a superb
Oh,
choice.
boy.
This is a massive week for comic book readers. I'm just mentioning a few of the titles, but there are quite a few impressive ones out. From Marvel, we got the 10th issue of Daredevil, then Vengeance of the Moon Knight issue 6, and that's also part of the whole Blood Hunt event, which the 4th issue of that is out. From Boom, we got Something is Killing the Children issue 38, Grimm issue 18, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 121. And then from Image, we got Rook Exodus, which might be my favorite thing that I've read so far that's come out this week. World Tree, issue 11. No One, issue 9. And then Grommets, issue 2, which I just read the first issue. I haven't read the second issue of that yet, but where a lot of these are like action type stories in various ways. World Tree, a little bit different. Grommets is like a throwback, like coming of age story, and it's like a skater kid story set in the 80s in California. I just read the first issue and I was like, I don't know, I like recommender, but I'd obviously pushed it off for a while. I enjoyed that first issue, so hopefully I can weigh in on that on TLDR this week, where we'll be doing the July solicit. So we're going through everything that's coming out throughout the course of July.
Well, you skipped over something that I think is pretty important that came out this week that a lot of people would like to read. It hit my mailbox today.
Oh, you got it.
Here. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you
Let me
got
see.
it.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
hell
both of
yeah.
them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got
Oh,
2 editions, so I cracked one open. I'm going to keep the other in its collective foil, so I
oh.
get that autographed, and then when it goes viral, I'll be able to, hawk it on the secondary market.
There you go. Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome. You're the first person that I found out that's received it, Wes. I saw a note that they got all shipped out last week. I actually haven't gotten my comps yet, so I'm excited to see it. But that's great. Oh, absolutely.
Yes, I got it. I just flicked through it, so I showed Jewel. She was very excited and impressed by it, but I'm gonna read it on the plane tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Look at you reading it on the plane. There we go. Fuck yeah. Oh, I'm so happy.
Then I don't have to spend any money at the Hudson news stations, inside the airports.
There you go. Yeah. So I know you're going to read mine, but I think the story right after mine is the one I haven't read it yet. I'm most excited to read. I think I've mentioned it on here a few times and certainly on TLDR, but it's about this guy who's in a zombie apocalypse, but he can't, he's like left alone and he just wants to commit suicide by getting bitten by a zombie, but they won't bite his arm. So I may have told you about it, but I'm very excited to check that out because
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, something I would never ever think of, and I'm just fascinated.
That is a pretty unique idea. I do like that. Did you know beforehand about the layout, and did you see like all the proofs and everything?
I have seen the digital stuff. I basically looked at I saw the first like few bits of it. I saw like everything up through my my story and then like my note. I can't remember my notes before or afterwards that I like
think it's like in the middle, I think.
Oh.
I think I was just flipping through it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. If not, it's towards the end of your story.
Yeah, that would make more sense. But yeah, I only looked at that in the scheme of it all, yes, but I'm excited to
because you're the first story in there.
This I knew.
That's like above the fold, placement kind of. If we're doing newspaper talk here,
right? No, you're right, and I was very happy when I found out that was going to be the case. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, when I have an artist like Nye, who like you've seen her artwork. I mean, she's just,
it looks awesome. It looks really good.
There's no knock on anybody else in the book. She's just like she's too good for my work. She's awesome. So, yeah. Anyways,
very big congratulations. Very excited to read it. I'll be sure to create an anonymous username and give it a 1-star review anywhere that your book is being sold. So
Hitman 5.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So all good stuff there. I love it. I was very, very pleased. Usually you get mail these days and it's like, because I forgot that it was shipping out. It took so long from when I placed the order to get everything to come through. Not a knock on anything. It's just reality.
Yep.
So I forgot about it. So it's like, unless like we're talking about with Amazon Prime, I'm tracking the shipment. Either that or it's just bills. So I was like, oh, this is a nice surprise. Okay.
Look at that. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, that's honestly pretty much it for me is bills, wedding invitations, thank yous.
Yeah.
And then we get this newspaper here, Wes, that never subscribed to. It's like, magazines of old where you just get them randomly. It's just this, Nashua newspaper, which sometimes like maybe I should check it out, but I never do. But we're not subscribed to it. It doesn't even show my name on it when I get it. Like there's no sticker.
Maybe it's the previous person who lived there and they just keep sending it to him.
Maybe I should probably say something. Lauren's asked me to get that canceled, and like every other husband would, I have not done it yet. So.
You still got some items to cross off on the honeydew list. I got you.
That's it.
It's never gonna end. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to work for the local paper, so I know about it, but we used to subscribe to the Born Enterprise, and I really should get this subscription again. But I loved it. I loved reading the local newspaper. Find out the dirt that's going on in town. It's small towns are rife with drama.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I always thought that local newspapers would be the one that would survive all the newspaper, the evolution of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing what the Globe did, and then the Athletics kind of done it on like a larger scale, from like be the larger thing, but then have people located in these areas and get like specialists for that. Like they have like the Globe has its own like Rhode Island branch.
Yeah. Julia's cousin used to work for like the Spotlight team of the Rhode Island branch.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, not anymore, but yeah.
They got our guy Brendan Curry, who now does stuff for them. Like they post him, and now from high school sports standpoint, like he can cover
the
that
South Coast regional guy. Yeah,
exactly. So it's smart. That's I didn't see that coming. I didn't think that the bigger newspapers would think that. I thought for them they'd think it's beneath them, but it's not. It shouldn't. They shouldn't think that way, and obviously, it's working out for them.
Yeah, and I think the same could be said. I mean, we're predominantly a Massachusetts, New England audience anyway, but Mass Live is the same way.
Oh yeah,
I think they just started with they're looking for like a Eastern Mass, or at least were Eastern Mass high school reporter that
oh
would go up to Boston. I think they have a Boston office now too. So
no, not yeah. I think that rings a bell. Nice. That is smart. Yeah, they've done a really good job over the
yeah,
years.
because I think they're what, Springfield, Worcester, or something like that. So like either
They were.
to span that far east, hey, good for them, cover the whole state.
Yep. Yeah, they do some good stuff over there. That's for damn sure. Look at us turning into the journalism hour.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking a little shop here. All right, get to the main topic. Just Hitman, not the Hitman. Hitman Exit Survey.
Yep.
What's the synopsis of this movie, Nick?
A professor moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department descends into dangerous, dubious territory when he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services.
Yes, and we talked about this a little bit last week. I think it was on air about this being like possibly built around a true story, or like loosely based around a true story.
Yes, we did, and they show that right in the opening credits,
Mm-hmm.
and then they talk about it at the end as well, and they kind of lay out like who this guy was, and they clear up like one thing that was like that was made up that happened in the movie.
Okay.
When we get into this, like the details of it, I mean, we can mention that, but one thing that was interesting was doing the job in this is not a spoiler, but he had like 70 convictions like doing this.
He had a high hit rate then. He was a regular
Look at you. Right. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Oh, hit rate. See, I didn't even mean to do it. I
Yeah.
was just trying to think of a baseball player. I'm like Ichiro Suzuki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There
Yeah,
you
we'll
go.
go with
Bravo, sir.
that. Yeah, very good stuff. In full disclosure, I still have 15 minutes left on this movie, so I didn't get the full ending. Nick updated me on what happened there, but I think I got a good feel for it.
Yeah.
So Nick will fill in some of the gaps for us. Of course, this is a spoiler-filled podcast, but I digress. The cast and crew. So this was written and directed by Richard Linklater, kind of Hollywood director royalty. He's done a lot of good stuff. This is starring Glen Powell as Gary Powell, right?
Johnson.
Gary, well, yeah, I wrote that wrong. I'm like, that doesn't make sense there. Gary Johnson. Adria Arjona as the very insatiable Madison. Austin Emilio as Jasper. Retta, who played Claudette, who really just played herself in this. And I think she's just delightful in that role that she plays. But yeah, I wonder between her role in Parks and Rec and between this is that just really who she is? And she's just like
might be
playing a very cool lady.
Yep. Yeah. She does. She pulls it off well. That's for sure.
She definitely does. Molly Bernard as Alicia. Evan Holtzman as Ray. Garland Bryant Banks as Sergeant Hank. Mike Markoff, that's a cool name, playing Craig. And Bryant Carroll as Walt.
Yeah, but Sergeant Hank, I don't know if he was a great sergeant, by the way. Like, just looking at kind of how things unfold.
Yeah, he just wanted the path of least resistance every time. He's like, okay, let's pull on this thread here. Whatever's the easiest for my guy Gary.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think about that until you mentioned his name, but it's like he's of all the characters in here, it was like, they weren't the best. Like it was probably Sergeant Hank. He just had a tough look for him a lot of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. How does he keep his job, sort of thing?
Well, because Jasper's the worst person by far, but there's just certain things that he's able to get away with, and there's questions with him. But anyways, for the critics reception, this is a 7 out of 10 on IMDb and even 7.0. But on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 96-91 split. Then on Google Reviews, it's a 3.4 out of 5. And then this is the most shocking number of them all. 59% of Google users like this movie. I don't get that at all, because we've talked about it before with the Google reviews, like the users, like the percentages not always adding up, whatever. It's different things, but I don't. 59% of people who watch this liked it from Google.
Yeah, I don't get it. You know that meme where you have like the 3-headed dragon and the first two look really fierce and the third one has like cross-eyed and his tongue hanging out? Like that's Google reviews for us right now.
That is honestly well said, sir.
I just don't get it.
I think in general, 100%, and especially this go around. But as for our scores, I'll lead us off here, Wes.
Mm-hmm.
I gave this an even 90 out of 100. I cannot believe that this movie wasn't in theaters. Really well done. Great twists along the way that truly kept me on my toes. Never felt comfortable with any of those twists.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with Nick kind of narrating the last 15 minutes of me of the movie to me or so, I give this an 87 out of 100. I think this is a really solid, sexy thriller. Interesting story. Again, like interesting premise, whether how true it is to life or not, is up for debate or whatever with these sort of movies. But either way, it's still a very compelling story. You get some really strong performances. I love the on-screen chemistry between Adria Arjona and Glen Powell.
Yeah.
And Glen Powell's like a full-on star now. I think you might have been able to have like that debate. I don't know, a movie, anyone but you ago. But now with this, and now with Twisters coming up, and then already what he's done with Top Gun Maverick, I think he's here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think with this movie too, just a quick note on the grading, because I know I narrated it to you. I can't imagine when you see that last little bit that like your score won't go up, and I will explain why. Because as much as the ending was like it was okay, there was an issue that I had with it that took off a significant amount of points. I wasn't going to give this like a 95, but like I might have gone 91, maybe 92. But I could also see anybody going all the way down to probably like 85. I think that's the right range for this. 96 from the critics. I can kind of see it because there is ways that it gets a little artsy, but I'm surprised.
But the way that you described the ending to me, I don't know how that could be a full 96.
That's actually a great point. Yeah, the ending, the way it ended.
That seems like a pretty glaring oversight there, if that's the case.
Yeah, I would have for sure thought the audience liked this more than the critics. I did not expect to see that at a 96. I didn't expect it to be in the 70s, but I didn't expect it to be 96.
No, I think this movie, I would be happy with anything from mid 80s, 84 and up, and maybe like that 91, 92, I don't know, 93, 90, 91, 92, like between that 9-point scale there.
Yep, 100%.
Yes, I think that could be I think that's a good spot for it. All right, so let's dive into it here. What was the most rewatchable scene?
Yes. So a reminder for everybody, we are a spoiler-filled podcast. I know we mentioned it already, but as we dig into this, I'm going to mention something really late in the movie. When we see Gary reveal that he is a fake hitman, when I watch stuff by myself, Wes, I'm not as inclined to laugh out loud. It just doesn't happen for me. So I don't run into that. Like, no, I know like other guys in the GSU will bring that up. I know you've brought up like these laugh out loud moments. Things that are funny, but I don't chuckle out loud by myself a lot.
For sure.
I did in this moment when he's like, I'm a fake hitman.
Yeah.
And his whole outrage and everything. I'm just like, it's like, dude, you fucked up. Like you were so off on this one.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great scene. And then you talk about the range of Glen Powell there. I mean, it really comes through in those, I don't know, 60 seconds on screen where he unfolds in that, and it's like he even narrates it at the end too, right? He's like, I entered that room as Ron and left as Gary.
Yep.
And it's like, that's so true, because he definitely, you just saw him kind of like turtle into it and everything just kind of collapse on itself. And then in turn, you saw Madison's like lust immediately leave her eyes, and she's like disgusted with him now.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good acting turn on, just off facial expressions and body language and everything.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good job on their part.
Really,
but
good
when you wrote that down, I was wondering what part you meant as revealing the fake hitman, or whether it was him interrogating Madison with the wire on while he's also explaining everything on the notes app, which I thought was a great scene, because it's like high tension. He's his house of cards is blowing in the wind there, and he seemingly executes it to perfection. And like she like doesn't miss a beat with it. She is like right on cue with him the whole time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was again a really like tense scene, and really, really well done.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, because that whole time you're just like, I don't know. Like, are they going to be fine? He's doing a great job. Like Glen Powell did a great job. His character did a great job in that scene, and he's very natural the whole way through. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, is she going to accidentally like say Gary? Is she accidentally going to step over the line somewhere and forget? But she did a great job too in that scene, because while Gary's character or Glen Powell's character, Gary, did a great job laying everything out, she did a really good job. I feel like when actors have to not be good actors in a scene, I feel like that would be a very challenging thing to do. And
Mhm.
she did a really good job of like being believable as a person, but not being like this overwhelmingly sound actor in this moment.
Someone who doesn't look like they're classically trained to act that way. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. It felt
Mhm.
real, and I felt and in that moment more than any other point in the movie, like, I felt we needed that kind of performance, especially when you have Glen Powell, like, out of nowhere being this, like, amazing character actor in it like, he talks about it and explains it all, but, like, you have that, and then if you had her putting on the same kind of level of performance, it would've I think it would've taken away from the movie on the whole.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We both have this in here. But I'll let you lead the way. But Gary revealing that he's a fake, or the montage of all the disguises and performances by Gary.
Dude, honestly, that was so friggin' good. I mean, if they made that into I don't think you could ever make this into a show where he does just that, but I mean, he didn't have 70 confirmed, like 70 convictions. So
Yeah.
it's like you probably could have mixed it up and done a lot of shit, but it was so damn good. Oh
Yeah,
man.
about like maybe like 25, 30 years ago, that's a TV show where every episode is a different disguise, and he wraps, everything gets wrapped up in like a 30-minute timeline. You know what I mean? I could see
Yep.
that on like network TV.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I thought that was really cool to see. Again, just his range and then the dedication that he puts into it. That's something that will come up a little bit later, and what will age the best into it. But for a guy who's doing like as a part-time gig, but also kind of conducting his own little social experiment,
Mhm.
I thought that was just really, really interesting. And it was nice to see him again, just like go all in. And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to be their hitman, or what they envision.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, it made so much sense, and I'm assuming, like, when they say, like, this is, like, based somewhat on a real person, like, I think if anything was real in this movie, it was that, his approach in being such a versatile individual. And for Glenn Powell too, specifically, like, he's like you said, the range that he showed,
Hmm.
he's on a ship to the moon right now. He's like out of his mind, just doing some great stuff. We're both excited about him in Twisters. But when I see this, it's like, how are you gonna? What's your next step in your career going to be? Like, are they going to find a way to make you like run like play as different characters, like we saw you here, or are they just going to try and make you this superstar and make you like this like 90s 80s type movie star? Because I
Yeah.
think he's going to be part of that next step, and I just hope it's not the same thing over and over again for him. He can do a lot of different shit and still be the star.
I think he's really good. My concern is like you talk about that like 80s, 90s, movie star, that Tom Cruise, that Tom Hanks, that
Mhm.
Denzel Washington guy, where it's like, I don't care what movie it is. It's a Brad Pitt movie. I'm gonna go see it.
Right.
And
Puts the guy to think
my
first.
concern is, well, for us, this may hold, or this may not be the case, but like someone like Ryan Gosling, like, we haven't really seen. Like, I wonder if he's that guy that people come out to see. And if he's probably the best actor in Hollywood, or like the biggest celebrity in Hollywood right now,
Mm,
it's kind of tough. Like the box office flop of the Fall Guy, which again, a movie that we both like, but was
yeah.
pulled pretty quickly from theaters. That's kind of concerning, because then you have again a movie that's kind of similar in this type of mold, where it's
Mhm.
like a rom-com thriller, like everyone can kind of go to the movies and be entertained, whether it's like a date night sort of thing.
Mhm.
Everyone can kind of take something away from this that they enjoyed. Uh, and that still didn't do that well. So like I don't know. I wonder if, like, again, Ryan Gosling at the top right now and still not drawing that box office that Cruise or Pitt or anyone else would have, 20
Mhm.
years ago. Is Glenn Powell better than Ryan Gosling at that point? Like,
Well,
I don't know. I don't
no,
know.
it's all you like. Great point. Totally fair question, and we definitely like that's something when we saw the Fall Guy and it didn't do well monetarily. It was kind of shocking from like just a performance standpoint and
Mhm.
entertainment. But yeah, I mean it's a fair question. But the thing that Glenn Powell has right now is he's new. So like
Yeah,
people
that's
like
true.
that's a big thing. And I also like I don't know. I'm not like Gosling does have range as an actor. But I'm just wondering now with Powell if like he can go and be a bunch of different shit and bring in a bunch of different people to the theater, because it's the same thing with like people were gushing over Cillian Murphy after what he did in
Mhm.
Oppenheimer, right?
Mhm.
And they were like, that was the first time I heard the whole notion of like, do we have like movie stars again? Is like Cillian Murphy started that new wave, and I wonder because he's an amazing actor, like very versatile, and obviously we've seen him play a bunch of different roles and really enjoyed him. And personally, I enjoy him in all of them. If Glenn Powell, he's got a long way to go to establish himself as Cillian Murphy, but he showed a lot, like he can do a lot of different shit. If you have two guys like that, and then there are more actors who can be like character type actors, and then
Mhm.
also a movie star, maybe because I just don't feel like Gosling has that same, like he has range, but not that same range.
No, he definitely kind of plays the same character throughout. He's kind of like a muted, underspoken hot guy.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
was
but
like
like there's like,
he was kind
but
of funny, and then
this is true, but like there's like he can also play a little more quiet. I guess like I know on from work like they've talked about like Gosling versus Ryan Reynolds, and I
Mhm.
feel like I love Ryan Reynolds, but he like we talk about range like they're not the same. Like Gosling
Yeah,
has
yeah,
more,
yeah. Right.
but
No, I agreed.
but
Totally.
comparing to these two that we're talking about, Powell, I think has shown in this movie he's shown like he has a lot more to offer.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would like to see it. So I'm here for it. I'm
Mm,
here for him. And then
I
like
am
we
too.
talk about today, box office start. Like Zendaya is probably that on the actress side of things, right?
She probably is. Yeah. What did Furiosa end up doing? Because I'm wondering if Anya Taylor Joy is going to move into that. I
Yeah,
don't know,
I
but
just think she has like such a strong Zendaya has such a strong fan base that like
yeah,
people will just go and she's almost like a Taylor Swift type person where like her droves of fans come out.
yeah, that may be true. That totally could be the case. And I was thinking about Margot Robbie too, but that might just only be for Barbie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, Furiosa still ended up only being at 168 million worldwide.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably a letdown.
yeah, it bounced back, but not. That was not.
I think that also got pulled from theaters too.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what was the budget on that. The budget.
It
Oh
would
yeah,
have
so
to be at
basically
least that, right?
it was the same. Pretty much it
Yeah.
broke even. So, like, on that alone, eesh.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
okay,
was wrong
alright.
about that. But anyways, did you have any other, most
Yeah, yeah,
watchable
my
scenes?
last nomination, most rewatchable scene, we really got lost in the weeds here, but I love the conversation nonetheless. It was Gary's first meeting as a hitman. You talk about the high, intensity of a situation. That's really felt, and you feel like maybe this is due to the narration. I think that's also something that will age the best. I really enjoy a well done narration or
Yeah.
voiceover, but you're kind of in it with him,
Mhm.
and you're kind of like, oh, you get the stakes because you know how his inner mind is working.
Yeah.
You know,
When narration is not done well, totally brutal. It's definitely I think it's a risky thing to do. But that was yeah, it was very well done, worked perfectly
but I guess
for this movie.
ultimately it gets screwed over, right? Because the big issue that you had that you relayed to me ends up
Yeah.
being a voiceover situation, which can be the bad side of it, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, and that's a fair point. But that's really like I was more talking from like it doesn't enhance the movie in any way, and that
Hmm.
that is a detractor what you're alluding to. But for what you're hitting on now, where it just it helps us understand his process more. It's one of those moments where it's like you're showing us, but we need a little bit of telling.
Yeah, hold my hand a little bit through it, so it really takes me there.
Exactly. But great call
Yes.
in the first meeting. Like it is great. That's a great tone setter too. It's like
Hmm.
right off the rip, he's like thrown into this. I didn't know. Like I know you said it was based on a true story, but I didn't know the synopsis, and I'm glad I didn't because there was just I didn't expect what we got.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't I'd only heard that it was based on a true story and didn't really look into it much past that. So
Mhm.
we were kind of in the same boat here. I was like, "Oh, so this is what he's actually doing here." So it was a bit of a spoiler, but not really.
It
Uh
made more sense for afterwards because when you said it, I was like, "How is this based on a true story, a real
yeah.
hitman?" It's like, "Oh no, it's a fake hitman."
What do you think will age the best from this movie? We already talked about the voiceover narration,
Mhm.
and maybe I mentioned something else a little bit earlier, but yeah.
I mean, just in general, like the from a larger perspective, I think from of Glenn Powell's career, I really do think that his is gonna. This is something that he even if someone's like, I don't know if you're a movie star, they'll at least say you can play a villain, you can play
Hmm.
these various types of characters in movies. You showed a ton of range here, even though it was for like short little bits for each one. I mean, even like looking over your shoulder, the Russian mob one and that the weird like redhead like just
Yeah, was that a lady? Was he supposed to be a lady there?
that may be, I don't know. I didn't think so,
I
but
didn't really know. It was kind of androgynous either way, but I was like,
felt like a
was he supposed to?
Dahmer kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Maybe?
Yeah, okay, I could see
Yeah,
that.
very uncomfortable. And then you got like the like
The white
the channel,
trash and
yeah.
like
And then legitimately, when we were watching it, Lauren said like about his Patrick Bateman impression, like
yeah.
he sounds like he looks like Patrick Bateman, and then he starts talking. And we always have subtitles on it, and it says
Mhm.
like Gary a la Patrick Bateman or
Yeah.
something like that. It's like,
Yeah,
wow,
I have the captions on too.
there you
So yeah,
go.
I like that.
Couldn't believe it.
I mentioned just the dedication to the craft of pretending to be a hitman. I really appreciated that and how that was all showed to us. Um, so I have a difference here. I'm going to say Adria Arjona, the actress, but not Madison, the character.
Fair.
The,
Okay.
the Madison, the character, is going to come up in a different category, but
Gotcha.
Adria Arjona, very charismatic. She is a woman of passion,
Mhm,
clearly.
mhm.
Whether she's trying to kill her husband or killing her husband or making sweet love in kinky ways to Glen Powell.
Yeah, I think I'd only seen her in Good Omens previously, which like a quite different character there. Really enjoyed her. She's in Morbius. I didn't realize that. She's in
Oh, was she the love interest?
maybe I don't. Do you remember what happened in Morbius?
Not really, but I
Yeah.
remember there being like a female scientist that
Maybe
worked with
that must have
Morbius
been it.
when he was like still crippled.
That must have been it. And then she's in Andor, which I kind of can vaguely see her character in that still. So she's been in a few things recently, but I'm not like again. Good Omens is the only one that I recall instantly that I've seen her in. But yeah, she does a great job. Like I definitely would love to see more of her.
Yeah, and my other two kind of coincide, but overall, general on-screen sexiness, I think, is back. We just talked about Zendaya and Challengers. Anyone But You. This movie now as well. There's probably another Fall Guy. It wasn't too sexy, but nice on-screen chemistry there
Mhm.
between. Why am I blanking on her name?
Gosling and Emily Blunt.
Thank you. Yes. But so I think overall, on-screen sexiness, we're getting back there. But more specifically, Powell and Arjano's on-screen chemistry.
Oh,
They're like flirtatious banter back and forth. I was just fully into it. I was like, she's like eating out of the palm of his hand, and as the nerdy professor that he is, I don't know how he's not crumbling under that pressure that he's seeing this beautiful woman just like ogling over him pretty much.
yeah, he did. They did a great job. I mean, it was they together. They were an awesome pair. I would love to see them do more work together. Quite honestly, to go back to though, when you talk about him as the hitman,
Hmm.
and his like dedication to the craft, I think that was a nice like reflection of the work that was put into this movie. Because I think from a writing standpoint, really well done. Obviously, from an acting standpoint, it was great. Like just across the board, this was a better movie than I would have ever expected it to be.
Yeah, and you mentioned the twists and the turns and everything along the way. I thought, that scene in particular where he starts diving into the different characters that he wants to play, and we get that montage of all the different types of hitmen that he is, kind of sets the table for him being like, oh, is he actually a murderer?
Mhm.
Because like
Sure.
the detail that he's putting into it, the meticulous details, like something that a murderer
Yeah.
would do, right? And the question even gets brought up by Retta and the other guy in the truck, like, how did he know the detail about the fingernails or the
Yeah.
fingertips in the first meeting? Like
Yeah. They were
only
like, "That's,
knows that. Yeah.
yeah, that's something." Yeah,
And then we've all seen the straight laced guy who like lets off steam by like chopping people's heads off or whatever, right? That's like a
Mhm.
classic trope. So it kind of sets you up for that direction. And then obviously it doesn't go that route, but it keeps you kind of guessing in that early stages of the movie.
This had comedy in it, but this had every like reason to be like this campy, not well done,
Hmm.
goofy thing that's just like, oh, okay, we're just here for some yucks and that's really it. And they're not like, no, this was the tension in this movie was like it was palpable throughout. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of putting you in the POV of Gary, and
Yeah.
like even if he's not feeling that anxiety, you're kind of feeling it for him.
Yep. Yeah, because it's
Um,
because like you said, it's still there for him. He's a great actor, but
mhm.
and then when he breaks and reveals like that he's a fake hitman, it was just like, okay, like that's a big release, but also it's like, but she just fucking killed her ex
Yeah,
husband. So it's like, what do you do?
yeah, exactly,
You were
exactly.
wrong. Like, oh, it was a nice role reversal of like, there's always the girls that think, oh, I can fix him. Like, it's a nice little role reversal of that in this movie too.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. I like that. What will age the worst from this movie?
All right, so give me a second on this. So in the end, we get like an ending that totally makes sense. They've chosen each other because they both lied. They know that the ex husband was kind of a jerk, and obviously he was going to do the same thing that Madison wanted to do to him. You have all that stuff. So them deciding that they're going to kill Jasper, like, totally makes sense. I actually didn't see. I should have seen it coming probably, but I didn't see it when like
Hmm.
he starts losing his breath, and then once he did that and like really paused, like, oh shit, she did the same thing to him that she did to her husband. All that makes sense. Like him deciding how they're going to do it, how they're going to kill him, totally cool. And like the logic that it's not going to be a big deal for the police department because he was a problem for them, also totally made sense. Everything about it.
Kind
My
of, but people go like cops lose their they really come out. When another cop dies.
100%.
I think they take that very seriously, whether like he's a
This is
jerk or
true.
not.
This is very true. That is a very good point. That is totally fair. However, the manner in which they did it, where they made it look like a suicide, and it was like very like clean in the way that they did it, I
Yeah.
think on that end, it's like, okay, well, it's sad and all this kind of stuff, but they moved on. I feel like still you should have had some semblance of like something to do with Retta and the chief and that other guy. Like you needed to wrap it up a little bit with them because it's not like you do that and then we walk off into the distance. If they just did that, Wes, then I wouldn't care as much that like they kind of yada over the any police involvement post Jasper's death. But they have a full flash forward where where Gary and Madison have a family. Like they have two kids
Yeah.
together and everything.
Yeah.
It's years down the line and stuff. So like, yeah, they got out of it, but it's like if you're gonna show me that much, I kind of want to know what happened with the police department. Like, did they look a little sideways at it? Did they, like, were they just like, oh, whatever about it? He was a piece of shit and got in trouble
Yeah.
for a lot of stuff. Like, I just want to know what I want to see where at least one of them did. If you just gave me like 20 seconds of Retta, I probably would have been fine.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, this was you filling me in on the back end of it, so I kind of stopped right when Jasper collapsed. And I thought he was having a heart attack, but it turns out he was drugged there, right? As you said. So yeah, that seems like a big yada yada, and that's the problem when if you use too much narration, right? So it's like you fall too much in love with it, and it become an easy way just to gloss over and save yourself some time in editing and filming and all that extra stuff where you could just, all right, just put some B-roll in there and we can talk over it.
Yeah.
So that does seem pretty lazy. This also goes to why probably Sergeant Hank is what it aged the worst as well.
Yeah, this is very true. Like, honestly, as soon as you brought him up before, again, it's just like, oh yeah, like, no, he wasn't like, he was not a great sergeant.
Not a great sergeant there. And like, again, not very inquisitive. You would think he would be a little bit more tuned into Gary and like what he's doing there, or like keyed into like, again, all the stuff that Jasper's bringing up and like doing so in a very leading manner. You would think that these cops who are, again, supposed to use their nose and their gut instincts on these sort of things, like aren't sniffing that out.
Yep.
Is a little bit of a stretch as well. So that was a little disappointing to see. What about how about just like the idea of hiding a hot person behind glasses to be a nerd?
I don't know, because I've definitely like I feel like I thought we talked about this. Maybe it was with Laura. I talked with somebody about this recently, like where it's starting to get a little bit more understandable with some of the stuff.
Oh,
like,
no, you did mention that with me. Yeah.
We did talk about it, where it's like you can see, because I honestly, like, obviously Glen Powell is a very like handsome individual,
Yeah.
but when you see him kind of try and when he at first, it's like I can see how people will just look past him and just think whatever. What in the original Gary version of who he is,
Yeah.
I could see that. Don't think so?
I guess because he's a little bit more meek and like in his head more, a little bit more introspective. But really, I mean, it's the physical that's there, right? And it's like
This is very true.
you just part your hair different and put your glasses on. It's like
His
who is
attire,
not ever?
too.
It's like Rachel Lee Cook and she's all that, or Superman in any situation that he's ever been in, like anything like that, right? It's like change the hair a little bit, put some glasses on, and now suddenly you're ugly. And it's like you see that transformation, and it's not really so much in his appearance, but it's his attitude, right? You hear the college kids say that at one point when he's like teaching a class outside, and he's talking about like prehistoric law and what they would do with a murderous king or something like that. And then the two students look at it as like, when did our teacher get hot all of a sudden?
Yeah,
it's just attitude and confidence.
Attitude is massive, and he obviously talks about it a ton. But like the way he's dressed too, it's not like he's got like this hair that like kind of also covers up his face in some capacity. His glasses also play a part in that as well. So it's like you're not really seeing a lot of him, and like attitude's 100% the most important thing. But like his collared shirt is very like it just doesn't look great on him. It's kind of like this, the patterns aren't very complex, so that doesn't help. And then I feel like tucked in and just like looks like everything about him just looks like I'm not looking at this person. He's not drawing my attention. There's nothing, whoa about him. But then once you can see his face and he's dressed like much more, just much better, then it's like, okay, well now we're dealing with like someone we need to pay attention to. It's
yeah. But it's always there though. You know what I mean? So it is kind of funny. It's just like, just put some glasses on, but you do have a point, like covering up your face. And that again, all kind of points to like having low self-confidence, low self-esteem.
Yes.
And then suddenly you start standing up a little straighter. You start showing your face a little bit more, puffing your chest out.
How about this? I think that this makes the MCU where they just have like you put a ball cap on and then you're all set.
There we go.
That makes that look a lot worse because there's effort like from like a design standpoint that's put in here. At least it's not just glasses, it's not just a hat.
Right, because Chris Evans still looks like he's Captain America, you know, and the jacket and the skin tight shirt and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
And Glen Powell is like, at least for this movie, he's in a slimmer frame. He's not like HGH'd up and like all like hulking muscles.
Exactly. And then even when we look here, he's got that green jacket on when he's a teacher. Like he's not showing it off. And you can hide like that. If you're not like jacked out of your mind, you can hide that pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my other thing that aged the worst before we get into some of the unanswerable questions I put together, Madison. So I said Adria Arjano aged the best. She could have, a bright future on her career here, but Madison is the exact type of crazy that you run away from.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Like that's I understood like Glen Powell's like Gary's position where he's like she's desperate and like whatever, but it's like she's saying she's desperate, and I believe that I didn't think she was a bad person, but it's like when she goes and we find out she kills her husband later, it's like, well, she was capable of killing him. Whether or not like that's a whole other conversation, I guess. But it's like we don't know, like, was he like he was an asshole, but how much of an asshole was he? Was he an asshole because of where things have gotten to? Was he always a piece of shit? Like it sounds like he was. Actually, she did talk about a couple things, but still, like it's just. Yeah,
but but she is. This is established after the fact that she, gives some details about how bad her marriage was.
Yes,
but we figure out that she's a liar. She's unreliable narrator to this.
Yes.
To that point. So it's like how much of that is true. And then when is it? Ray? What's it? What
Ray?
was
I think.
Yeah, Ray was the husband's name.
Yeah.
When he comes to do the hit. That is like again a nice twist of events there.
Awesome.
And good on Gary for doing the back-to-back meet. I thought that was a nice kind of like improvised thing there to not show his face right away. But he, you could tell how broken up he is. And there's a note that Gary says, again, I think this isn't a voiceover, but how most people, or I think it's when he's talking to his ex-wife, when he's like, most people, you see how love curdles into hatred. And like, you see him crying and you can really see the emotion and passion that he has for Madison. But I wondered, was he really the bad guy, or was she the bad one all along who like made him crazy?
Or were they both bad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the most likely answer.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But at the same time, when she talked about like he has me on a diet, I was like, oh,
yeah.
But again, where she was like, where she lied to Gary, like what was like, I don't know. I don't.
And
right.
She was never going to tell Gary about the murder anyway.
Right, and then the divorce, and like she that was where like when you said she became an unreliable narrative, that was it. Like that, like because at first she did seem very trustworthy. She just seemed like someone at her wit's end, but then it all unraveled so much, and then she often,
But also it's the crazy ones who supposedly you have the most fun with in the bedroom, and I think that trope kind of lives up to form here.
Yeah, they had.
It looks like they had a lot of fun.
They certainly got after it. That's for damn sure.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, that should be like if he had a good friend around him, like that would tell him, be like, get away from that. Do whatever you want, but just don't get too involved.
Right.
Have your fun, but don't get attached.
I think he did like a nice thing in the sense of like letting her off. I don't question that move. Getting involved is where it's like you probably should have drawn the line.
Yeah, you shouldn't have responded to the text,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, for sure. Okay, so that was my last What Age the Worst. But some unanswerable questions. Do you think hitmen are really a figment of Hollywood's imagination?
No, I don't. Okay, most stories like aren't just pulled out of fucking thin air. Like there's always some level of truth. Now maybe they're mostly just like stuff from like mob gang type stuff. Maybe that's all, and maybe they're not like now. Maybe there's not as much, but none whatsoever. I mean, I don't know. I find that hard to believe. It's just again not like a Slade Wilson. Like I'm not even talking superpowered Slade Wilson.
Right.
I'm talking like someone that takes out like all these high profile people. Like I don't know. I feel like we'd hear about that more often.
Yeah, I would think so as well. My only thought was like maybe he's referring to like common people, civilian type hitmen who are just available for like hire that aren't attached to, like you said, the mob, the mafia, the military. There's certainly like black ops operations who I'm sure like ex-military people sign up for, or again, that's like quote unquote security detail.
Right.
And if you're protecting I don't know, high-powered individual, CEO, political person, Hollywood celebrity, what you do to protect them, and then you kind of fix, like we hear about Hollywood fixers who come in and like fix the scene. So I think those things are all true, but whether like I can actually go on Craigslist and search like I don't know what's the term from the Charlie Day movie, Jason Sudeikis. Yeah, horrible bosses. Yeah, I think they use wet work as the term there. Then they end up getting confused, and like it's a guy who like wants to piss on everybody. But that's another joke for another day. But I think like I don't think you and I could go have access to a hitman like that. But I think like ex-military, like maybe like New York City cops or something, like inner city cops where there's like a lot of crime. I think that could certainly happen, but so that's my one caveat. I think hitmen are really out there.
Yeah,
but I don't think there's like a John Wick, syndicate sort of thing.
No, that would be wild if that was the case. But no, I agree. Like there's to say that they just aren't there in any capacity just doesn't feel right to me. Again, just from storytelling alone, like this is just as much as you have like. We have all the like fantasy worlds and everything like that. They all inspire, like they're inspired by different shit along the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's definitely a thing. Again, maybe not to the same level as when like the mafia was running shit. No. But certainly, I mean, those people that we named, Bugsy Siegel and Stephen Fleming. Stephen Fleming was Whitey Bulger's hitman.
Yes, there you go.
Bugsy Siegel was Meyer Lansky's hitman. They're pretty famous guys, so we know them. Okay, so last one. This gets talked about. I wrote this question down, and then immediately afterward, it cuts to a courtroom scene where they're kind of discussing the moral ethics of this whole movie here, which I thought was kind of good timing there. But is what the NOPD is doing with the Hitman Project morally ethical?
I mean, I think so. I don't. I was kind of confused by it. It's like this whole debate. Like, it's like they're still doing it. Like, if you go and I don't know, if you just go and like commit fraud or go and rob a convenience store or whatever, and it's like you did it. Like you hired you hired a contract killer. You entered a contract with someone to do that. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, but sometimes like what they do to persuade people to get evidence, there was there's
yeah.
been like a ton of instances with the FBI where they're like they coerced people while they're undercover to like commit like not actual domestic terrorism, but the idea of committing terrorism and domestic terrorist events. Kidnapping the Michigan governor was a few years ago. They turned out like a bunch of people. She didn't get kidnapped, but there was a big plot that was there for it. And there was these bunch of guys who wanted to capture the, I think it was a Democratic governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. And they found out through the case that the FBI, like it was really like three really dumb guys who were, wrapped up in conspiratorial ideas who probably in theory, without the help of these FBI undercover agents, would never be able to fully carry out this plot or fully even like conceive of that idea. But because the idea was incepted into their head, potentially by the undercover FBI agents, that was what ended up getting brought up in court. I don't think it ended up playing out, but it does raise, an interesting question. Like, how much involvement do you have in coercing these people to actually carry out these things? Now, this is a little different of a situation because these individuals are going out of their way to contract a hitman, like you said.
Yeah, there you go. They're going out of their way to do it. And on the other note too, I mean, because this also does apply to what was that attorney was bringing up, the last one who kind of like caused Gary to turn into Ron on the stand. It's like the and what you're talking about with the coercion. It's if they're undercover and there's like they're being asked for their opinions and what they should do. I mean, then if that leads to them like nudging people in a certain direction, they're playing a part. They're trying to play a role. They have to fit in. They have to blend in. They can't just be like, hey, should we do this? Like I'm in, and like I don't know about the logistics. What do you think, Bob? And it's like, I don't know, guys. Do we really want to do this? Like, is that like no? You're undercover. You're trying to be one of them. You gotta. So I can see how that would get muddy, but it's like you have to, like in those cases, especially, you have to do what you have to do to survive and get the job done. So
it's an interesting because it kind of borderlines on like the idea of Minority Report and pre-crime, right? And like convicting people for like thoughts of committing crimes, right? So it's like not exactly to that level, but it feels like a few steps below it where like, yes, you're trying to stop a crime before it happens, but you also have to like make sure that some illegality happens to be able to stop them. Right. And it's like your job to kind of like walk that line and kind of walk them towards that illegality point of like, again, handshake agreement. Here's money. You kill my wife or whatever it is. And then you get to that point, but that you don't actually carry it out.
Yeah. You know what I just remembered in all this, totally like left turn, but on a similar note, remember Tiger King and the whoever that piece of shit guy was, like of all the a-holes in that show, the guy with the small dude, like with the bandana and a hat, who contracted like this other guy to kill Joe Exotic. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. Okay. So that guy hired a contract killer.
Yeah. 100%.
That was a hitman for hire. And he's just a normal dude.
Right. Exactly. And he's, has a questionable background or something like that, they said. So yeah, it happens. And also like, but like once you do that, it's like, I want you to do this. Like I'm paying you to do it, whatever. Like once there's an agreement, especially when there's an exchange of money.
Yeah.
Like once there's an exchange of money, no, like that's it. Like you're done. I'm sorry. Like you've asked to have this carried out.
Well, and that's the other thing too. If you're just going off of like one meeting per se. Like this is like kind of how it's unfolded in the process for us in the movie. It's like one meeting, hand the money off. I'm sure there's some sort of like internet interaction or a phone call or something like that that goes
Right.
on beforehand that we don't see at least in this movie. But how do you like immediately trust someone to do that? So is it like a half before, half after sort of thing, or like?
That's what I know that was brought up with the first exchange, but the
Yeah.
whole like the trust of the idea of the trust and the craziness that goes on in this, like that was I think part of the narration when he had his second, like the second person that he went at like dealt with, that guy left that voicemail and he was like scanning through his Facebook. I think in that whole sequence, he was like, you deal with someone who like you don't know at all and you trust them to carry out this thing. And it's just like it's wild that people do that.
No, it is crazy. And I liked seeing the range of emotions of the clients, who they were like kind of nervous to talk about it, but once they hand the money over, there's like this almost like giddy sigh of relief. I'm thinking of the guy like specifically when he's dressed up like the androgynous redheaded person. It's like that. Then the short guy was like, he's going around swiping left and right on everything and trying to sell my boat and all that. And he's like getting so upset. And then he hands, and it's like this huge, like what almost looks like a weight lifted off their shoulders, like almost like in real time.
Yep. 100%.
Yes, that's some good stuff there.
You know what we missed the boat on? We should have ranked all the Hitman the characters that he played. The worst one for me, but not that he did a bad job, it was just like the least impressive or whatever, was for the older lady where he was like wearing like some like uniform like from a
and she was like hitting on him and everything. Right?
Like
about
that was
the big house.
She did a good job. But like that was just the most. It was deliberate, I'm sure, but like the most whatever of his performances, I would say.
The Patrick Bateman one was pretty good. But the one that sticks out for me, where I think Glen Powell is just really going for, or I guess Gary is going for, is the ski shooting scene.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, that was.
Where he's like, you need 3 things to kill a person. He's like guns, bullets, and balls, and I got plenty of the third. And he like nut taps him.
I was like, oh yeah, he's got this. He's got it down. Obviously, Ron's the most fleshed out one, and he does a good job. But I tend to agree. Like his like redneck version one, yes. Yeah,
that was really good. All right, so one last thing for Not Age the Worst. You mentioned yada yadaing how the couple was able to somehow live happily ever after. Would a better twist have been, and this is I kind of had this thought throughout, that Madison was going to kill Gary.
That could have totally worked. Totally would have believed it. Totally would have made sense. I mean, there were...
And would that have worked for the same tone that they had, do you think?
I think it would have...
For the tone of the movie?
I think it would have been a dark twist. But I think the way it was all going towards the end, like there was so much in play, and you had no clue where it was going. Like you knew that Gary liked her, but you knew that Gary was really trying to play it all as smart as he could be, as conservative as he can be. She's the reason that he ended up having to make that full commitment to her, which I mean is like, obviously it worked out for them all in the end. And Jasper, I mean, no one's really upset over Jasper, but it's like you're 100% right. That could have worked.
I think that could have worked, right? Because then you got kind of like the femme fatale kind of theme there. Excuse me, that you can play with, and it's like she already kind of has that role to a bit where it's like a little mysterious, and like she's already trying to kill her husband, and then this guy's like in way over his head. So I think there's a movie that they can get out of that.
You could have done that. You could have had Jasper do something to, like, other than like trying to ask for money. He could have tried something different.
Yeah.
You could have had Glen Powell turn on Madison as well. Like there are a few different ways that he could have done that. I don't think killing her would have. I don't think he was capable of that. But he, like, who knows, if things get heated and she tries to kill him, maybe he's, something happens. Who knows? But he could turn her in. There was a lot of believable options.
I think anything other than happily ever after, right?
I mean,
this kind of works, I guess, for the tone.
Happily ever after worked because of who Jasper was. Like I have personally, I'm curious afterwards when you finish that if you feel differently with your grading. Again, I don't think your grade will go up, but I have no problem with that. It's just I need that like to know what did the cops like. How did they feel about the whole issue with Jasper? They could easily be like, whatever, and just moving on with their lives. And I'd be like, okay, like I get it, makes sense, but I need to see that one bit.
Yeah, okay, for sure.
But your option was
Anything
good.
else? What?
No, I got you
what
got
is
some.
yours?
Those were good, unanswerable questions.
Okay, all right. No, yeah, we got to ask those questions, right? That's if they weren't going to be in this section, it would probably be the intro question of like, do you think hitmen are really figment of Hollywood's imagination? But
Nope.
we solved that one pretty easily.
You're welcome, everybody.
Who had the best performance by a side character?
So your call on Jasper is fair.
Yeah.
I was recently listening to a podcast where a bunch of different actors were on it, and they were talking about being leads, and it's like that character that they played is definitely a prominent character in the show, but I would never have thought to define them as a lead. So I don't know. It was a show.
What were you talking about?
It was Sons of Anarchy. And I was listening to the actor who plays Tig Traeger, who's like a prominent character throughout the entirety of the show. But I would never think I would think like, okay, Jax Teller is the lead, Gemma Teller is the female lead. That's it. And we've had this debate before.
Yeah.
I think I was proven wrong because I think you were on the other side.
So yeah, when you have like ensemble, like the Avengers, like the entire Avengers team would be the leads, right?
So then does Jasper, because he's clearly the number 3 in this movie.
That's true. He's introduced early on there. Maybe he is too much there. That's a fair point. But I think for this argument, because I have no one else, I'm going to go with them.
You really don't have anybody else, because the next closest person is probably Claudette, played by Retta, because the sergeant stunk. Retta's partner.
The other guy was fine. Her partner was fine. I liked the line about like, would you fuck Ron? He's like, only after your sloppy seconds or something.
I would
like
have your
that.
sloppy seconds if it was Ron. Yeah, like all that was just so it was like he was good. But I still would take Retta over him. But other than that, it's like you have Ray and Gary's ex-wife. Like she was there for 2 seconds. Like Ray was good on screen.
That was my question. So she didn't come up at all in the end.
Nope, never saw her again.
Because I was also expecting her to kind of pop back up with like with Gary with Madison, kind of like, look at how well I'm doing now. You know, I got my and then like I thought there might be like some of that second guessing, because you have all that like the idea. Maybe this kind of ages the worst for me, but the idea of like being friends with your ex-wife, good for you on the people who can. I would just find that extremely difficult to do.
You know, I found like the person that Gary was. Like at that time, I can see how that would happen, but it's still. But you're right. Like when they don't have a kid together, it's like I'm surprised that you have anything to do with each other.
Yeah, and then like you would have that opportunity for Ron with that like that whole topic that they were having about people changing and like shifting and having like old persons kind of in your background or like down throttled a little bit. So then you have this like new Ron Gary. Out on the streets with the spicy Latina. And then suddenly you're like, the milquetoast ex-wife is like, oh, well, maybe this is what I could have had all along. And I just didn't realize how good I had it, sort of thing.
Yeah. But I think that would
not really necessary.
Yeah. You'd have to probably flesh that out a little bit more if you introduce that. So I'm glad that they didn't have that.
But yeah, I think Claudette's a good choice. Like we said off the top, I think Retta is just like very likable in anything that she does. Maybe one note, maybe she doesn't really need to have so much range, but like whatever that role that she has, whether that's like an extension of her personality or not, is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. She does a good job at what she does, 100%.
And the same I think would say for Jasper, like he plays a real asshole, and he does a good job of kind of playing the slime ball, greaseball guy. Like, I loved, like he really went for it. Like when they he just really enjoyed like torturing Gary the whole time. Like when they hop in the car to go search for Madison, and they're just in the street and he's like on the ground sniffing like a dog. He's like, I'm trying to find the boyfriend. And he just like sniffs his crotch. Like that's chewing the scenery. Good stuff.
So he's a guy I haven't seen much of, but I knew I recognized him. I just pulled it up, and
he could be a Sons of Anarchy guy. Like he could have fit right in.
He was in The Walking Dead.
Okay.
And that character goes through so much bullshit at the hands of Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Negan. I'm blanking on the character's name, but Dwight. There we go, Dwight. He
Mhm.
was really good and totally different than what we see in from Jasper in this. Like, he's a very different individual. So Austin Emilio, a guy who I haven't seen much of, but I would like to see more of.
Yeah, and again, we talk about the tension of the whole movie, and at different points, how high it is. Knowing that he knows what we all know about Gary
Mm.
and Madison's relationship and their involvement, and he's just kind of toying with Gary the whole time, like a cat playing with its food, you know.
Yeah, he
And
played it
you're
really
just
well.
kind of waiting, like, oh, when's he going to pull this trigger? When's he going to pull this trigger?
Yeah, he played it so well because this is like the character starts off unhinged and everything, and he still feels like he could like totally backstab Gary at any second. But it's like you also know there's some game he's playing and some gains that he's going to get and something's going to happen. But it all like every ounce like it all makes sense. Again, like
Mm-hmm.
the way everything goes makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it works out like it shows that he's actually good at his job. He's not just like some idiot hothead.
Yeah, true.
It
Very
shows that he's like an actual good detective with some detective skills and some good police work there and like good instincts. But it's also like him slow playing his hand, and he
Mhm.
just keeps check raising, you know, check calling, whatever. And then finally he gets, you know, what he thinks is going to be the biggest hand possible, which is a piece of that insurance money there, and it ends up not coming out. But
Yeah.
I think that's like probably the right way to play that if you're Jasper.
100%. Yeah, he had it all right. He just didn't know that one little bit about why am I blanking on her name right now?
Madison.
Madison.
Yeah.
Why did I say Melinda? That doesn't matter to me. Anyways,
But yeah, I know. I think it's good because like he gets like Gary kind of checks him a couple of times, right? As like, when they're in the sergeant's office explaining like his involvement in meeting up, and it's like Gary has this great response, and he puts it right back on Jasper, and Jasper doesn't really flinch, but he's
Mhm.
also like touche. Okay, I'm going to pull back here a little bit and then
Yeah,
wait for my time to jump again.
yeah, yeah. I would have had him for best performance by a side character. I just again had this recent revelation, but
Well,
yeah.
now, so apparently we've flip-flopped. We've changed our own minds about where we stand on this topic.
So you never know what you're going to get on this show.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
who
exactly.
lost the movie, Wes?
You have Ray down here.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah.
You know, the happy ending is kind of makes it out so that Gary can't be the loser, but for a second he is the loser because he chooses Madison, who just gets him into a world of shit. That's what crazy girls do.
This is true, but he's so smart that he figures his way out of it.
But
But
he
yeah,
gets out of it. Yeah,
I mean, there's only really two people. I mean, well, actually, I guess everybody who gets arrested in this movie, they're all
sure.
losers.
Yeah.
Jasper is also a loser in this because just like a great performance, but like for the character, like tough L. The way things pan out. But yeah, it's probably Ray above all else who loses in this movie.
Yeah, he's the big loser in this because we don't really hear his side of the story. But two, everything about him is very unlikable.
And that's another area where they were good. They kept it so muddy where it's like, I want to know, like, what's his perspective? And then how does she respond to that and all this different stuff? And it's just like, it was great. Like what they gave us, I wanted more, but they gave us just what we needed. Again, like there's not like for this whole movie, there's really not a lot of fat on it, quite honestly, Wes.
No, and it's just about a little over 2 hours. Little over, right?
I think it's just under. I think it was like 155, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
Even still, right? So I think that's a nice lean movie. I think again for Netflix and people being distracted by their phones or anything else that's going around in their house. That's a nice easy watch.
Yep, 100%. Like the closest thing to like fat was probably the stuff that was happening at the school, like when he was talking as a professor.
Yeah,
but it was still relevant to what was going on.
To let you know that he's still living as Gary, right? He's not fully Ron or fully into the police work.
And enhancing, like, and it's further establishing too, like as Gary, like he's a smart motherfucker.
Yeah. Who won the movie?
I would say the late real life Gary Johnson. I mean, he comes out looking like a badass, and obviously like that whole
You got Glen Powell playing, yeah.
Yep, 100%. It's him, but obviously he's no longer with us. I think he passed in 2022. And
Okay.
then Glen Powell is, I mean, the other big winner in this because I really think between these last two movies, as long as Twisters is solid, I think he's going to do well. I think this could be really good. This movie could help Twisters box office too.
I hope so. I hope people see this and they're just like, I'm really like, this guy's got a lot of charisma. I like what this guy's cooking with. Let's go see Twisters and see what he does with like a childhood classic, you know.
Yep.
So, or anyone who's like right around our age, you know. Yeah, so I'm with you. It's Glen Powell in this. Maybe Adria Arjano as an honorable mention here. I thought their on-screen chemistry was off the charts steamy.
Yeah, she did a great job. I'm not someone who needs that. Like, I mean, obviously you want chemistry, but like the steaminess, like I was like, damn, like they did a good job together.
Yeah, I think I might melt like a bowl of butter if she was talking like that to me, the way they were in the bar. Like, the way like she was just all about it with their first time in the bar, you know, when they're like before like anything officially happens, when they're just talking, like she is like eating out of the palm of his hand and just like putting out all the vibes. And I think I might crumble in that situation.
Dude, the airplane bit.
Oh yeah.
I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah,
like
you pouring wine all over themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
It was very like that. It felt like that the wine bit felt kind of primal. And it went with everything that they were doing too. But
well, I was going to say at that point, right? They're doing the voiceover about his lecture with the id and the ego and the super ego. Yeah,
very true. Yeah. But like, even when we got the flight attendant thing, which she previously was, I think that was her. I was like, I didn't need this.
Oh yeah, she was.
You were killing it already, and then you gave that, and it was just like, why are you so good at this?
Well, okay, so this is maybe another unanswerable question that I should have asked, but given how, you know, his co-star in this movie and then with Sydney Sweeney in the Sexy Anyone But You, will they or won't they type of movie, or what are they trying to make their exes jealous or something, whatever that is, right? I don't like, that's got to be the toughest thing as an actor or actress for that matter. Like when you have an extremely attractive coworker who or co-star who you're supposed to be like madly infatuated with, in love with, just like lusting after, and you got to play that out on screen. How do you separate yourself from that?
It's a fair point. I mean,
yeah, like I don't know how you don't just like dive right in.
I bet you with Glen Powell he can do it because we saw what he did as an actor with playing an actor in this movie.
That's true. I just think like I don't care how good of an actor you are. You know, if you have someone that you find extremely attractive in front of you, and you have to pretend to be like lusting after them in that way, I don't know. Like I feel like it would just be like human nature to let in. You know, just to give in at that point.
Well, I mean, they kind of do. So
yeah, and I'm sure it's much different. You have a whole crew of people around you, and it's like lights and like cameras and production and everything around you to make you feel uncomfortable. But still,
but they're definitely actors though who like I'm like I'm not doing that.
I mean, well, yeah, that's what happened with Brad Pitt and Angelina.
Oh yeah,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh yeah, yep. 100%.
That's what led to their breakup. You know, between Aniston and Pitt.
Yep.
Yeah. So you know it happens.
Yes, it does. No doubt about that.
Yeah, it's good to know that like Brad Pitt's just like every one of us. You know, that's a nice, like, good, relatable moment.
Yeah, one of us. There you go.
Okay, so that is Hitman, now streaming on Netflix. I believe it's still in the top 10 as a crow flies, as I saw today for movies. Nick gave it an 87, or I gave it an 87. Nick gave it a 90. That is a CMM aggregate score of 88.5. So pretty good movie. Go and see it, or go and fire it up on your streaming services. But right now, you need to get your tickets because the Discharge Depot train is leaving the station.
Choo-choo, bitches.
All right, tell me about Trigger Warning.
Yeah, so this is the action movie with Jessica Alba. And I saw the trailer for this a long while back whenever it popped up, and the action sequence was like in this like hardware store type thing. At least that's what I thought. I think But it was like very impressive. And it seems, I'm sure it was a stunt double, but like there are certain moments where it's like a shot of her, very clearly her face. So I don't know, if they CGI'd stuff or whatever, but it was outstanding. There was some really kick ass action in this. As for the movie on the whole, I thought it was good, not great.
Okay.
There are definitely some like flaws with it from like just certain decisions that are made by characters. So like I guess that was like a writing flaw, but like the general plot and everything like that was good. It's set in the West. I don't know if they mentioned what state it is. But I thought Jessica Alba did a solid job. She had some moments where it was whatever. But action was great. It's a fun movie. I honestly think trigger warning is on Netflix, just like Hitman. If you're looking to do like a double feature, like date night kind
Oh,
of thing, I
okay.
would start with Trigger Warning because I don't think that's as good as it's definitely not as good as Hitman, but it is fun and it kind of gets you in that action mood. And then you get into Hitman, and then it's a slight change of pace from what you just had, and it's a better quality movie.
Okay, I like that. That's a good, nice little double feature recommendation there. I love that. That's good stuff.
Be fun.
So I went to Hootie and the Blowfish over the weekend with Bare Naked Ladies at Fenway.
Ooh, how was that?
It was great. Apparently, like half the DSG went. Mac and Billy went.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't get the chance to meet up with them. They were like around the roof deck, or I think they were on the field, but there ended up being a huge rain delay. So we didn't get to stay for the whole concert, which was unfortunate, but
not too bad.
Nevertheless, Bare Naked Ladies were really good. I was blown away by Darius Rucker, who sounds absolutely the same as he does on the record that came out 30 years ago, Crack for Review. So that was great. And they pretty much just played that whole album. And from what I heard, the Wagon Wheel song, which was his single, Rock Me, Baby, Like a Wagon Wheel.
Yes.
Hey, I didn't know that was him. I just thought that was like another.
It's a cover of a
country song.
It was a cover of Old Crow Medicine Show that did it originally, but
okay, maybe that explains it.
That might be why you thought that. Yeah, because I think when you were in college, his version wasn't out yet.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. But I've definitely heard it around ballparks. I always feel like country music and baseball just kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've heard that over the loudspeaker and stuff, but I never knew it was him. But that's a good point. I didn't know it was a cover either.
Yeah, but it makes sense that they would play that and not his other, because he has a couple of really good country songs. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's another one that fits as well with the Hootie vibe. But that one definitely does. That makes sense. Cool. I'm glad that was fun.
Yeah, it was nice. It was about an hour and a half delay.
That sucks.
Which, we're down in like the inner bowl of Fenway with, I don't know, 15,000 people, like however many people there were for the concert. That sucks. That takes me back to my days as a sanitation engineer at Fenway. And just like trying to work your way through the lower bowl just to get somewhere. It's such a pain in the ass. I hated that. So, that was good. But you know what else was crazy too? We're driving back in Kenmore Square, and there's like people triple parked. I'm blown away by this. Like hazards on, like double and triple park, just like hanging outside of their cars. They're all Uber drivers, but there's no sort of policing going on. So like traffic gets like funneled into like one lane while all these cars are just waiting for people to get out of the concert.
Triple parked?
In some cases, yeah.
Double, I can kind of understand. I feel like that's always been a thing, but triple, what?
Yeah, but like if you double park, it's got to be like, I feel like you got to be quick. You know what I mean? It's like a short
thing.
In
the car waiting there and it's ready to move. But because I feel like taxis, you should see that all the time. But what the hell is that?
But now it's so different. Now it's like you don't know when a car is attached. I guess you have like the Uber or the Lyft sign or whatever. But it's like they're all cars. They're not taxis.
Oh my god, that's brutal, man.
So I was just surprised by it. I was like, I just felt like chaos. But I guess that's city living. I'm just a country bumpkin these days.
You're a country mouse. Yeah.
Hey, you are too. All right.
Yeah.
I know you're traveling to the city, but you're up there in the sticks.
Yeah, live free or die. Yep. I can't have triple parking up here, otherwise, you're probably gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, they have a right to carry up there, right?
Yes, they
right to bear arms.
They got a lot of stuff up here. That's for sure.
But yes, that kind of surprised me a little bit. Although I guess it shouldn't have. I'm just getting old.
Dude, triple parking is, I mean, an annoying level of double parking. I can understand that's annoying. Triple parking, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's not a thing. It's not supposed to be a thing.
It's insane.
It's just chaos. We need like, I never thought I would say this, but like, we need more meter maids. We need more policing. But yeah, that's all I got. I'm going to New Orleans this week. It's not
Nice.
for fun. It's going for work, but I'll check out the French Quarter.
I hope you have some fun.
Yeah. I'll let my hair down. I'll get a beat or two.
Yeah, go Glen Powell style. Maybe mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, take my top off.
There you go. Look at that.
Be someone else. Yeah.
Be Ron for a little bit.
There we go. We all need to have a little bit more Ron in our lives,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that'll do it. Next week, we're doing A Quiet Place Day 1. Is that the did I get
Yes,
the title
sir.
right?
Yeah, that one really snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was that close around the corner.
And I'll be excited for the theater experience for the lack of sound. Usually with like the
yeah.
Fall Guy or something, or Furiosa, it's like you want to hear all the sound and like get the explosions around you. But I think the lack of sound will also be a cool experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think I only saw the second one in theaters. I don't think I saw I can't remember, but it's fun, like dealing with that. Yeah.
All right. Well, absolutely. Well, nevertheless, we'll be back at the same bad time, almost the same bad time. We're at a new time of 5:15.
Yep, summer hours.
The summer hours here, but it's the same bad place as always. So we'll see you next time.